February the 14th. To no one's surprise, this Valentine's Day stuff isn't my thing. It's really hard to like this day when you wouldn't recognize a flirt when it came with a name tag. And so, like many artists, I've been burned too much, used and hurt once too often to believe in the concept. The most unrealistic part of Bones, a show I obsessed with for years, was that Tempe had this tightly knit protective cocoon of friends around her and her one big laugh, who functioned willingly as her translators on the planet she erroneously had landed on. Even talking about this makes me teary, so let's move on to things like quantum physics. I surprisingly understand much better than humans. Just kidding. Well, kind of. Today I want to pick up something I touched on yesterday in the context of how today's job description of a presidency differs to its past. And in particular, I want to explain the connection between you feeling down and lost and the disappearance of our decision-making power as we allow algorithms to take over. I mentioned this before, but all stories we encounter in books, on TV, or the big screen have the same structure. See, divide into 8 parts, each taking up 12.5% of the length. And you can stop this in the movie theater with a stopwatch. And each of these parts has its own purpose. It all starts with a hook. You are presented with a character, setting, and conflict in such a way that you ask, what's going to happen? At least that's what the writer hopes, because that increases the chances that you will read the book or watch the movie to the end. The character then touches on the conflict before they are drawn into it, are shown the strengths of an antagonist, and so on and so on and so on until they reach the climax where the character uses all they have learned on the journey about themselves and the conflict to bring it to a solution. And this structure makes it easy to understand the quest of a heroine as a path with crossroads, and at each and every crossroad they have to make a decision, which then leads to the next crossroad and the next decision, and so on and so on. We meet the structure in the Bible already. It starts all out with God deciding to start a do-it-yourself project and create something. And what follows step by step was based on that decision and ever more decisions. And if you open any history book, that's also how we tell the story of humankind, where at certain crossroads of time, great men made a decision, and everything changes. Progress! The first thing to understand that's in itself just one of those stories which we use to construct what we become aware of as our reality. It's not a natural law because Earth would spin on if we didn't have a story arc. Publishing world would stop and go crazy, but evolution and everything else is a process with many causes and many reactions running a parallel. Nothing about this resembles a path even remotely. It's more like a safety glass window that had been shot and was cracked in a million different ways, and all the cracks are cutting through each other. And now imagine that on an at least 4-dimensional level. I understand how incredibly hard it is to do this, especially when we then need to understand that what is true for the whole is true for the part, for the lives of each and every one of us. And when you think about it, living with this understanding can be pretty demotivating. Whatever you can do for yourself becomes damn insignificant, so why bother even starting? That's why we came up with a story arc and with the understanding of human life as a chain of decisions in a quite dramatic fashion. We were always drama queens. We reach a particular junction in life and we must choose between good and evil, between parties, between objects of affection, between subjects at universities, between the risks we are ready to take and those we rather avoid. This story structure has become so ingrained into our brains that we even use it to construct our own identities, which are in the end only stories as well. But now the pivotal part of the story structure falls more and more to algorithms, the power of decision making. It only just started with apps that learn out our preferences and biases and give us the selection of books to read, movies to watch, events to attend, food to taste, jobs to apply to, or people to date. But that's already enough for us to feel the ground underneath our feet shifting and to lose our footing. Therefore, because decisions have become so central to us, because we have drafted them in the main role, in the role of the meaning of our lives. The feeling of loss makes us vulnerable, just as my feeling of loss of a human way of easy connection with others, something I never had, mind you, but I feel I should have been born with, makes me vulnerable to people ready to jump at vulnerabilities like vultures. We might feel angry, fearful, helpless. We aren't helpless. We need to replace the old story of a hero's journey with a new one. We need to craft it by getting to know us again, us and known as thinking. Make a habit out of thinking. Turn thinking into a movement so that it's not someone but us replacing the story with something that works for all. Like, comment and share, and as always, thank you for gifting me with a few minutes of your most precious, your lifetime.